Well, we're back here for another segment of Behind the Curtain. We're going to be talking about our friend Edward Snowden. You know, I think this guy is a hero. We'll see what the general thinks. We are very, very pleased today to be joined by Major General Jerry Curry. General, thank you so much. I got a feeling you're going to disagree with me on this, but we'll see. We'll see. Perhaps not. For those of you who don't know, the general has an illustrious background, one of the few men anywhere in the U.S. military who started as a private. This guy was a steel mill worker in Liberty, Pennsylvania. He enlisted as a private and fought his way all the way up to the rank of Major General, which is, I think that's like more of an achievement than Dwight Eisenhower, so I don't know. You might be unique. I don't know that that's ever happened. Even George Washington didn't do that, for God's sake. All right, this thing, your career, I mean, I think our viewers and listeners are more than familiar with your illustrious background. Here's my take on Snowden. Violated some laws, released some classified data. The Attorney General says he's guilty of espionage. We have no idea whether that's true. If that's true, it would be a more serious matter. It has to be looked into. I think, on balance, this guy's like Julian Assange. I'm very conservative, as you know. I'm a law and order guy, but this guy woke us up to Hitler-type stuff going on in this country. I think he's a hero.
You have to ask yourself, I think, the question of, when you're going down this road, do you really want to throw all laws aside and just go for this guy's personal views? That is, he is not somebody who was appointed by the president, approved by the United States Senate, and who is running the Department of Defense. He's not that.
Yeah.
He's a very young guy like I was, started sort of at the bottom. And he comes in and he looks around and he says, gee, I think what we're doing is illegal. I think it's wrong, and I think something ought to be done about it, and I'm going to leak.
But don't you think, though, it's pretty serious? I mean, Bush, people said that Dick Cheney went far. I supported what Cheney did, but Cheney wanted to record conversations, keep track of conversations for 3,000 bad guys, maybe 10,000 bad guys. All of a sudden now, we're doing this for 200 million people. Don't you think this is scary? I mean, you as a military man, you know that there could come a time when this information would be in the hands of a bad actor. Isn't it just fundamentally un-American that we keep this stuff? I mean, is this really is this a good way to run a democratic system?
I guess what I'm saying to you is I think it's wrong. I think this is wrong.
What the administration is doing.
What the administration is doing. I really do. I don't approve of it. I didn't approve of it with Cheney. I don't approve of it at all.
So you'll go even more extreme. You wouldn't even do this for the 1,000 bad guys. You think?
Oh yeah, the bad guys I would go for. I think that's the way the law sort of works itself up. I don't see anything wrong with going for bad guys.
But you're worried. But you don't think. Okay, so you're against this like I am. But at the same time, you think Snowden. You think what he did is wrong because you don't think any individual can run roughshod over the law and just start releasing things out.
I don't think two wrongs make a right.
What if Snowden, well, it's a good point, but what if Snowden, let me ask you this, what if he'd gone through channels? So what's the alternative? He goes through channels, he presents it to the high command at Justice, the high command at DOD, the high command at NSA, or his contractor, or whoever he had, or Lockheed Martin, or whoever is involved, and he says, look at all these things, or Verizon, we should look at all these things. Would anybody have told the public? Would anybody have told the public, or would they have just suffocated this?
Well, the other question you could ask is, would they have fixed it? Would they have stopped it?
Do you think they would have?
I don't think the public needs to be told if you stop it.
Let me ask you this. Is there any way Snowden, what fascinated me about Snowden over the weekend, you remember Watergate, you lived through Watergate. I was a child. Daniel Ellsberg coming back into the press. Snowden's father talking to Daniel Ellsberg, saying, Ellsberg giving him the counsel, don't bring your son back to this country. You can never get a free trial. I saw what Nixon did to me. I think Barack Obama is like Richard Nixon. They're doing the same thing. They'll discredit anybody they don't like. If you were Snowden's dad, what would you tell him to do?
Oh, gosh. I'm not sure what I'd tell him to do. I wouldn't...
You have a son about that age? You have children anywhere near that age?
No, they're older.
They're older, okay. But if you had children, and you may have children doing national security work for all I know, you may have that. You have that. I suspected that. So if you had a son that's doing that, what would you tell him to do? Say he was about 30 years old like Snowden. How would you direct him? What advice would you give?
I probably would tell him to face the music.
Come back. But even if you
come back and lay it on the line.
But you think he could get a fair trial in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think he could get a fair trial. You have to ask yourself what a fair trial is, of course. But I think he could. You know, I've sort of been down this road. As a young general, just gotten promoted. I was involved in a crisis, and my boss was a 3-star, and he was not doing what I knew was right. And I knew he was not following his orders.
Can you say what he was doing?
No, I can't. But I couldn't. He wasn't following his orders.
Okay.
And so I just confronted him one day. I looked him straight in the eye, and I said, "What you're doing is wrong."
And you were what? You're a young officer. Young officer at this time.
No, I was a young general.
Young general.
There are young generals.
Young general. I don't think of young, but it's.
Yeah.
You're still young.
Yeah, still young. And so I told him, "Hey," I said, "this is wrong." And I said, I want you to know, the approach I took was, I said, "I am resigning from the Army as of right now. I am leaving the Army. No press conference."
What did he say?
Not going to be any big anything. He said, "I was crazy." He said, "You'll learn how to play the game. And when you learn how to play the game..."
Did you resign? Did you, in fact, resign?
His boss asked me not to. He said, "Don't resign." He said, "Stay on active duty." He said, "I want to check this out and see what happens." It took about 6 months. But they checked it out, and they got down to the end. He got fired.
General, in the time remaining, and this is a question more important than Snowden. Where do you see this going in the future? I mean, we'll have our battle over Snowden. He's probably going to live the rest of his life in Venezuela or Russia or Morocco or what have you, wherever there's no extradition treaty, and it'll be forgotten. I mean, I think he's a hero. You think something else. Fox News thinks a third thing. A lot of opinions on Jerry Snowden.
Sure.
Where does this business of recording phone conversations, keeping this kind of data, you would know this better than anybody. Where does this go in the future? What do my viewers have to fear? We don't know what we have to fear. How bad does this get?
This could get as bad as you want it to get. That is, the guys running the show, they could be reading your back pocket, your front pocket, your bedroom. They could be doing all
Can you give us
all
an example?
sorts of stuff.
Let me give you something. Okay, we know about the cell calls. Everybody understands that. My producer found something where the FBI can now, I have an old cell phone, we'll display it, I'm hideous. You can now, through what's called ambient sound, even if a cell phone like this is off, even if it's off, the FBI can listen to my conversations, or just, I understand anybody's conversations.
Yours.
Mine, well, mine, they want to listen to mine.
Yeah.
But they can't listen to yours. Yeah, you're on the inside, you fix it. How bad? I mean, that's one illustration. Can you tell us some other kinds of tricks they can do? What else? You say they're in their back pocket. You know about these things. What does that mean? What can they really do?
Well, they can follow you every step of your day, from the time you...
Any citizen, whether they're bad guy, good guy, anybody.
Any citizen, they could follow them throughout the day.
Now, how would they do that? With a satellite? With just satellite?
Satellite's part of it, but the technology they have, they can follow you.
Can you tell us what? Can you tell us
No,
what?
I can't.
But they can follow you. Can you say on video they follow you? So they can press a button, I'm on a screen, and the guy watches and says, there he is?
I'm not sure they can do that right now. Eventually, they will be able to do that. But they can get the audio.
Maybe tracking. The audio, they know.
They
here
can
goes,
audio,
here,
and they can GPS you. They know where you are.
Any person. They can GPS
Sure.
any person.
Well, you got to have something they can GPS with.
Any human being.
GPS with, and that GPS, of course, would be something like your cell phone.
Boy, that's horrifying, doesn't it? But it's just as a private citizen, that's horrifying.
And not only that, it can be used for the wrong purposes, and it will be used for the wrong purposes. I'm convinced it'll be used for the wrong purposes.
Hitler and Stalin are looking up from hell, and they're giving the big thumbs up for this country, General. General, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Well, that's another edition for Behind the Curtain. Join us next week. See you then.